Tuia te rangi e tū nei, tuia te papa e takoto nei, tuia tātou te kaupapa tangata, e ono ana mā te ipurangi ki tēnā pito, ki tēnā moka, puta noi te motu, uri noi te ao, tēnā koutou, kia ora katoa tātou. Kia ora everybody, Jay Wilson here, mindful that the internet connection here isn't the best, hoi anō, we'll carry on, and also mindful that I'm an hour late. I thought it was Monday still. Hoi anō. Tonight we're going to be talking about Marae 101. This is take number 2, or episode number 2. And mindful that there are a couple of points raised the other night, but before we get into that, just want to acknowledge Rongotoa on Friday. Just search it online and you'll see Rongotoa was a pretty mean recognition of some key war waiata. It was beautiful and part of the whole connection to Anzac. And just want to acknowledge all of the sacrifice of war, and especially one of our kaumātua, our oldest kaumātua on the Whanganui River, e koro, e pita, potaka, e moe, e oki, who passed away the end of last week. Also want to acknowledge Rangiriri. Was fortunate to attend Rangiriri and the official opening of Rangiriri on the weekend, and wow, just to encourage you to go and have a look. I've driven past Rangiriri many times and not really even stopped, but so pleased I got to go there. Missy's tupuna were there 7 generations ago, or 6 generations to Missy, 7 to our girl who was one of the tour over the weekend, and so just want to acknowledge Rangiriri as well. Anyway, coming back to episode 2 of Marae 101, series 7 of Te Paepae Waho, and the series is about the 101s of Marae. And before we get into the 101s around tikanga and what to do, what not to do on the marae, I thought we'd discuss the relevance of marae. And we covered last week marae and pā, whether that's PA or PAH. Another question was asked around papakainga. And so papakainga is the place where you build your home, or the foundation that your home is built upon. And a key component of a kainga is a fire, ka. The root word for kainga is ka, which is the burning of the fire, kāinga. You'll notice in some of our Western Moana languages, like Samoan and Tongan, they also have ainga, which is the same as kāinga. And though kainga for us is home and ainga for them is family, it's all connected back to the fire, the ahi ka. And so the kāinga is connected to the ahi ka, or the home fires. Let's start off first with this idea of a marae complex, and is it relevant? So today we have a wharepuni, or a whare nui, or whare tupuna, and the wharepuni is the central hub of the marae. It has other buildings, it's a dining room or wharekai, and then wharepaku or ablutions. And those are the 3 key buildings at a marae. Some marae may be lucky to have other buildings, whether that's a church, kohanga reo, or other buildings. And that makes up the marae complex. And I ask, are they still relevant when you see more of our people going to hire churches or community centres or halls or something else rather than using the marae? Some of that might be to do with issues. Some of that might be the marae might be too small. It might not be fit for purpose. Or it might be that we just think that maraes are only for funerals. And I think it's really important to discuss what's the relevance going forward, and how do we navigate that space safely. At the end of the day, you and your whānau, you and your however you work through it. And I'm a pro marae person. If I could have everything at the marae, I would. And even though once you're at the marae, it's open to anybody. And so that does put question around invitations to weddings or birthdays. But it is what it is, and you just got to navigate it. In addition to that, when you hold events at marae, how do you give back when people help you, especially if you live away? And so the marae complex, that's one point. The variations to marae complexes is also an interesting point, because as a result of tapu, we've separated whare puni, whare kai, and the kauta, and whare paku. But then some marae today, and I've been to many marae where they're all one complex, all one roof, and there are separations, but it's all one roof. It's great for when you're not going to, when you don't want to get wet. But then it's a bit of a hoha when you've got to take your shoes off in the warepuni, and then you go into the next part, which is the warekai, but your shoes are still around the front. So you've got to navigate all of that. And especially if it's all carpeted, are you allowed to wear your shoes in the carpeted bit or not? But I think what's happening is we've got variations of marae, where you've got the harepuni, the ablutions, the harekai, and possibly a bit of a hallway or place for movement of traffic. That's all covered, all under one roof. But there are going to be other examples going forward where it might be just a multi-purpose room, where one part might be for sleeping, another part might be for eating. I know many marae often start off with a harekai or a wakaruru hau, and that wakaruru hau, half of it is for sleeping and the other half is for eating, and people make it work. And I think the cool thing about that is it's practical. I know one marae that's currently going through a bit of an upgrade at the moment, and as a child they only had one building, and that was their warepuni and their warekai. And I remember sleeping on one half, and then they had a divider and you ate on the other half. And no different to whether it's a Skyline garage or something else, people making it practical so that we can function while still having some forms of separation. Why do we do that separation stuff? Simply because of living in tapu and noa. And I think tapu and noa, I've covered that heaps in the past. We over-dramatize tapu, and we don't acknowledge noa enough, I suppose. And so, the separation is still required. But as we look at our relevance of these buildings, how do we go forward? Mindful that many have received decent amounts of funding. And is it worth building a flash marae if you've got no people? Or as you go on the journey to building a marae, is it better to build the relationships, learn the whakapapa, get something up, continue the relationships and the learning, so that over 10 to 15 years of building, you've then solidified, rather than getting a big flash thing and nobody to fill it. I know examples of both, and there's no perfect way to do it. But I think the most important thing is don't just build bricks and mortar for the sake of building bricks and mortar. Should we be having anything else other than tangihanga at our marae? Absolutely. We definitely should be. It should be a place where we pray, where we celebrate, where we eat, mindful of in the past, and I'm not encouraging this now because the world has changed, but mindful in the past that we made our babies there as well. And so how do you make your marae a home? And mindful that it's a public space, so it's not somewhere where you can just, if you're paru or repo or riko, you're not going to treat your marae like that, because people aren't going to want to go to your marae. But how are you going to navigate all of that so that we can then make these places relevant again? I see with all of the marae that have got the internet connection and the TV, etc. Do you start having movie nights at the pa? Films in the whare? All of those different things to find other ways to make it relevant. There are other questions around, you need a playground for the kids. I'm not sure about that myself. I'm more open to, how do you get the kids to learn how to set the tables and set the wharakai and the wharepuni? And so that they're part of it from a young age rather than just dodging or you trying to placate them with a device. Well, actually, it's a place where you actively learn. And so how do we actively learn in action? So, I think that's the relevance piece of marae today. I know I'm mindful that I do have a bias, and I think marae are very relevant, and we should be using them as our wānanga, our place of wānanga, our place of memories, our place of fun, our place of celebration, our place of gathering, and we treat it like a home away from home. And in an ideal world, you've got a papakainga where people are living, so it's a living marae. So that people go, I'm going down home. If they live in town, I'm going down home, and they actually mean they're going to their marae. Because once you make it a living marae, it changes the dynamic. It also keeps it alive. And if you can have something there every day, then wow, it's a completely different space altogether. So ka ake, e me I kaua ana ki koutou, o ti rā ki tātou katoa. Sorry about me being a bit whatever and forgetting that it was Tuesday, still thinking it's Monday, thanks to Anzac. Nā reira e me I kaua ana, me te wakaere ake e nei kupu ki te tā nui o rangi nui a tāne e tū nei, turuturo i ti whakamau ake a tīna, hui e, tā e ki e. Kia ora tātou.